pick off Quartararo. He's got in the Yamaha man in the final corner at turn 16.
Who would have expected this then? At the end of the first lap, it's a Repsol Honda 1-2. It's a Spargaro leading from Marquez. Is Marquez going to go through immediately? Up the inside of his teammate he goes. Paul Espargaro doesn't fight it too hard. Who would have expected Brad Binder to be next behind him? And Paul Espargaro straight away sending a message to his teammate. He ain't no number 2 at Honda.
Yeah, Marquez was just in that little bit hot. He went a little bit wide, maybe a metre offline. No second invitation needed for Paul Espargaro to take the lead back. Excellent first lap. Excellent start for Brad Binder. We've always said he's a Sunday man. He can qualify well. You know he's going to be in the game. You know he's going to be fighting in that top 6. Well, it's better so far. The KTM man up inside that top 3. What a first lap as well he was for Joan Mir. He's been a big mover from 8th to 4th spot.
Absolutely. He's ahead of Enea Bastianini, who is the leading Ducati on the road. The Ducatis collectively all had 4 stars. Bastianini's the first of them in 5th. Jack Miller's dropped down 5 places to 9th. Bagnaya's down behind Miguel Oliveira in 14th. And Johan Zarco, he's dropped 6 places to 19th. The Ducatis just did not get away.
That's been a shocking start to 2021 for the pre-season favourite Pecco Bagnaia. He finished last season so strongly, only down in 14th place at the end of the first lap after a wretched start. He's got a lot of ground to recover here. Then the man in the top 3, the only man with the medium rear tyre on was Brad Binder. Now that should pay dividends, you'd think, in the second half of the race. How much will Marc Marquez chew up and burn up that soft rear tyre while they try to run this pace, or will they slow it down? Will they back off, try and bunch up the group and then attack, keep some life the last 6 or 7 laps? That's what's going to be key. That's what Michelin have told us. That's what so many people have told us in the paddock so far this weekend. It's going to be all about the last 6 or 7 laps and who's conserved the tyres the best.
Paul Espargaro looking good at the front of this race. Joan Mir, though, is a key contender here, looking to fight his way through. He's already up to 4th. Pecco Bagnaia trying to make quick progress. That's it up the inside of Takaki Nakagami, so he's already back up to 12th. As we come onto the main straight, just how strong is that Suzuki down the main straight? Joan Mir is able to hold the slipstream, and he's able to hold Enea Bastianini behind him, although Bastianini is the fastest rider on track.
Well, Bagnaia and Miller need a slow pace at the front here to get themselves back into this lead group. As Lewis just mentioned, Bastianini at 1:54.953. That's the best lap of the Grand Prix we've seen so far. Fair play to the Italian. It's the only of the Grand Prix so far, so he's quickly into his groove, having started from the front row for the very first time.
Fabio Quartararo in 8th position at the moment. He's just at the back of this leading group, 2 seconds off the lead. I think he would have settled for this for the first few laps of the race to make his way through the pack. He's got all the Ducatis behind him. He's got Alex Rins just closing in. Rins is one of those who are expected to make progress through this race. As Mir has a look at the inside of Brad Binder, I don't think KTM in their wildest dreams would have expected Brad Binder to stay up at the front, let alone be challenging the 2 Repsol Hondas for the lead of this Grand Prix. But Joan Mir looking threatening in 4th.
It never really mattered on a Friday or Saturday what Brad Binder did last year. Even in 2020, he always found something. On Sunday, he had a bit of a sprinkling of the old Valentino Rossi magic, didn't he? He's coming under pressure here, though, from Joan Mir, who's awfully mobile in the first couple of laps, picked up 4 places, but at the moment not able to find safe passage through on the South African directly ahead of him. Bastianini likewise, though, can't make a move or can't show his front wheel to Mir. There was Aleix Espargaro then, still in 6th place, ahead of Fabio Oro.
It looks like he's got Alex Rins really itching to get past him. Quartararo just slightly detached from this leading group. He's half a second behind the Ducati of Jorge Martin. Is Quartararo able to run this pace? He said yesterday after qualifying that was as good as he had. That was as much pace as he had to qualify 11th on the grid. At the moment, he's finding this pace a little bit too hot at the front.
Bagnaia not rattled by a shocking start. He's starting to pick his way through the pack again now. He's just taken Alex Marquez and gone up into 10th place on this lap. Here comes the Suzuki. We would not have seen this in the recent years. Will be a Suzuki nudging, what, 355 kilometres an hour. Jack Miller reckons they gained 30 horsepower in the winter. Alex Rins was buzzing and beaming on Friday when he saw he got the top speed. Never happened on a factory Suzuki before. They've made massive strides with the aero package, the engine, the rear ride height device. That Suzuki, without any question, is back as a championship contender this year. Rins are now up into, what, 8th place.
Yeah, Ducati aren't really getting their wish for a slower pace of the thing. We were expecting low 55s, potentially high 54s for race pace. Alex Rins on a low 54.6, the fastest lap of the race. That was only a tenth faster than the riders ahead of it. Here comes Joan Mir again, having a look up the inside. Brad Binder does like to take a wide line into turn 6, which suggests that he's leaving the door wide open. But so far, he's holding firm in 3rd place. So far, so good for Suzuki. They're both making progress. Mir seeming comfortable in fourth, but beware the beast just behind him.
Binder crucially has been able to go for that medium Michelin front tyre as well, which gives him that better braking stability when he's trail braking in as well, a little bit more edge grip. Last year, when he had to run the soft in the hotter conditions, he was all at sea. He couldn't stop the bike. He felt like he was crashing in every corner. With the improvements that KTM have made in the winter as well, with their acceleration, they've got that better throttle connection, they've got more mechanical and electronical grip, and that means that coming off the corner as well, the KTM can dart out of the turn, so it's really, really hard to pass KTM. Of course, Brad Binder, super aggressive, one of the hardest races in this MotorGP pack as well, so Mir's got his hands full here.
Yeah, a bit of a queue now for him behind Paul Espargaro. Marc Marquez did show a wheel, of course, early on in the race. He did go past at the start of the second lap, ran a little bit wide. He seems content at the moment to sit behind his teammate. Whether that will change if the likes of Brad Binder and Joan Mir start getting involved at the front, we'll have to wait and see. Fabio Quartararo still starting to get a little bit detached. He's got Pecco Bagnaia closing on him. Ducati trying to find their way back into this Grand Prix after their terrible starts.
Yeah, the pace just dropping off a little bit. Paul Espargaro's knocked it back to a low 155. And Marquez never really behind Paul Espargaro. They don't need to do anything. They know Paul Espargaro's not getting away here. He's not trying to get away as well. So he's just managing this pace. He's very, very wary, very conscious about tyre life in those last 6 or 7 laps. And this is the race that we kind of expected it to be at the start, or the first half of it, the first 2/3. A big, big group battle. Thankfully for the fans at home, that's exactly what we've got. Espargaro then pole leads from his former teammate Marc Marquez. Binder still there in 3rd place. Mir 4th. There's not been too much overtaking in this league group. They all seem pretty happy to hold station right now and just let the race come to them. No sense in burning up the tyres at this stage of the race. Still 18 laps to go.
Yeah, Alex Rins was the fastest man once again on that last lap. He's running the soft front and the medium rear tyre. Expect him to come good in the end of the race. A little bit wide there for Joan Mir as he comes under pressure from an air Bastianini. But yeah, we're in a bit of a holding pattern at the moment. Bastianini really pushing the front into turn 9 there as he looks to get on terms with the 2020 world champion. Fabio Quartararo is still in 9th place. He's the sole real contender for Yamaha. Frankie Morbidelli didn't get a good start at all. He's down outside the points in 16th.
Yeah, a bit of a horror show as well on the opening night here for Jack Miller. It hasn't gone his way at all. Excellent qualifying last night, 4th place. He's been relegated down to 14th. In fact, he's just been passed by both Miguel Oliveira and Marco Bezzecchi. I'm not sure if it was a mistake recently from the Australian, but not going according to plan at all for Jack Miller. It didn't go his way here in the 2 Qatar races last year, of course, and all the gossip and speculation about his future place in the factory Ducati team, with hungry young riders like Martin and Bastianini already making public declarations. We want Miller's ride. Here's a bit of Ducati power, a bit of year-old Ducati power, trying to blitz past a Suzuki. What? A Ducati can't blitz by a Suzuki on the start-finish straight here in Qatar. That just shows you clear evidence there, visually, of how good the Suzuki is this year, engine-wise, aero-wise, and that drive they get off the final corner. You would not have seen that over the last few years, at Ducati not able to outdrag a Suzuki down this 1 kilometre start-finish straight.
Brad Binder's got past Marc Marquez crucially as well. Brad Binder up into 2nd place. That is not what we expected to be saying. Bastianini's having another look. This time he is going to get it done on Joan Mir, who's eased aside into turn 4. Bastianini on the move. He looked like he was getting a little bit impatient behind Joan Mir. He's now made the move.
Binder up into 2nd place. KTM have never even had a top 6 here in Losail. It's been a bit of a bogey circuit since they entered the MotoGP World Championship back in 2017. Now, has Marquez gone in hot here on the brakes into the first corner? It looks like he has, yeah, gone in way, way too hot. He was never going to stop that. Thankfully, he didn't lose the front, took the front, just knew that release the brakes, run wide, take your punishment, and then try and recover the lost place. So Binder didn't have to work for that one, but he's up into 2nd and looking strong.
He is, and Bastianini straight on the back of Marc Marquez as well. He looks like he really wants to get on with this, doesn't he, Bastianini? He's always had that pace late in a Grand Prix, but he seems to be making his move a little bit earlier this evening. Touching on the rookies, we mentioned Marco Bezzecchi, who's ahead of Jack Miller, but a shout out for Darren Binder as well. He's up into 19th position. He is ahead of his teammate and Losail specialist, Andrea Dovizioso, by a couple of places. Binder, both Binders, having a pretty impressive opening night.
Yeah, there are some riders in this field that are having a bit of a humbling start to 2022. Jack Miller, we mentioned, he's just off another place as well, to Taka Nakagami. Likewise, Frankie Morbidelli on his factory Yamaha start in 2022. He's down in 17th place. He's been pushed out at the point-scoring place. The fully fit Frankie Morbidelli as well now. Now then, can Enea Bastianini's Ducati do anything about the reps longer? Marc Marquez directly ahead of him. He's picked up some slipstream. He'll have the inside line and he eases by Marc Marquez on the brakes into the first corner. So Marquez, is he going to pull it a little bit tighter? No, Mia's gone well wide. Likewise, Jorge Martin. That's the slipstream effect. That's just those extra 5, 6, 7 kilometres now you pick up in the slipstream. It just changes your braking marker. We saw it last year. Pecco Bagnaia actually lost the chance of a victory when he ran in hot at the first corner in the Grand Prix of Qatar last year. So it's an easy mistake to make. Simon, down to you for some thoughts.
Yeah, just about that braking area. When we first saw it with Mark, now a couple of others, that in recent years with the wings, they help the bike stop as well. When that device clicks back up into place and the wings angle of attack works, they rely on it with their braking marker. But if there's someone in front of them in the braking area, the wings don't work and they can't stop.
Yeah, all that dirty air around the wings. Yeah, good point, Simon. So Pol Espargaro, well, it's been plan A gone to perfection so far for him. He made a brilliant launch off the line from 6th place on the grid, and he's been happy to make the front running here, of course. There's been missed opportunities, hasn't there, in the past. Pol Espargaro's been so tantalisingly close to breaking his Premier Class victory duck. I'm sure wherever you are in the world watching from the sofas on the virtual fan wall, you're enjoying this cracking start to the 2022 MotorGP World Championship. Pol Espargaro has the advantage from Brad Binder, still there in 2nd place. Bastianini in 3rd, Marquez 4th, then it's Mia. And Lace Espargaro trying to get on in this podium battle as well on the factory Aprilia.
I wonder whether there's a problem for Jack Miller. He's dropped right the way down to last position now. He's 2 seconds even behind Ralph Hernandez at the back of the field. There is clearly some sort of issue with the 43 Ducati, and Joan Mir, who we expected to go forwards, is going backwards. That's Aleix Espargaro picking him off.
Yeah, Mir's getting a bit beaten up here, isn't he? Getting a bloody nose. The former world champion. Miller must have some kind of problem. And as Lewis said, he's dropped all the way back. There's a yellow flag as well.
Yeah, Marco Bezzecchi's dropping down the field, unfortunately. The rookie who's had such an impressive weekend. Bezzecchi has dropped off the tower on the left-hand side of the screen, so we think something may have gone wrong. Mir looking to fight back against Aleix Espargaro. Both Suzuki's really in the middle of the battle. Alex Rins just behind. He's trying to keep Jorge Martin at bay. Jack Miller has entered the pit, and Marco Bezzecchi, unfortunately, has entered the gravel trap.
Oh, Jack Miller doesn't have a lot of luck, does he, here in Qatar? You remember when that seat worked loose a few years ago, and then last year, I remember in the opening Grand Prix, he had a mystery vibration problem on the right-hand side of his tyre. It was almost launching him to the moon through all the right-handers. So Jack Miller's woes in Qatar continue. There's Marco Bezzecchi. Sadly, it's been a real promising MotoGP debut up to that point for Bezzecchi. He slides out at the final corner when he was looking well set for a point-scoring finish. Yellow flags and are still out in all sectors. I'm sure Simon's going to try and find out exactly what happened to Jack Miller. Bad start to the year for the Australian, when he needs a good start to the year to ensure that he's putting himself at the forefront of the minds of the Ducati management for that coveted factory seat next year. It's been knees and elbows and hands all going between these two, Mir and Aleix Espargaro. Surprised to see Mir struggling to run the pace at the front at the moment. Will he come on strong in the latter stages?
Absolutely, well, he's leaving himself a little bit of work to do at the moment. He's only a second off the lead at the moment, although that top four do appear to be getting a little bit of breathing space out of the front, but it just underlines how competitive MotoGP is in 2022. 5 different manufacturers in this 6-wide leading group. Pol Espargaro leading for Honda ahead of a KTM of Brad Binder, a Ducati of Enea Bastianini, the second Honda of Marc Marquez, with an Aprilia and a Suzuki right on their tails.
Well, in the early stage of this Qatar Grand Prix, I don't think anybody would have thought pre-season that Pol Espargaro and Brad Binder and Enea Bastianini would be holding the top 3 places, with world champion Fabio Quartararo in 9th and runner-up last year Pecco Bagnaia in 10th. Still a long way to go. There was confirmation on your screens. Unfortunately, Jack Miller retired down and out of the opening Grand Prix. That's cruel luck for Jack Miller, really unfortunate for him. Now we're looking back at Alex Rins, and there's the pole man Jorge Martin. He's in 8th. Bagnaia actually has just taken that 9th place away from Fabio Quartararo, probably, I'd imagine, using a bit of grunt of the Ducati down that start-finish straight. The chasm between the Ducatis and the fastest motorcycles here and the Yamahas has been pretty embarrassing. Jack Miller storms out the back of the factory Ducati garage. Clearly there's been a problem that was not of his doing, totally out of his hands, not the way he wanted to kick off 2022. Might need to have a bit of a 10-metre exclusion zone around Jack for a few minutes.
Yeah, this isn't the race we were expecting in many ways, with the pace at the front. The pace is getting quicker. Pol Espargaro now in the mid-154s. The big question is, will that soft rear tyre that Paul Espargaro is running, as well as his teammate Marc Marquez, will that still give up good grip at the end of the race? Brad Binder perhaps sitting pretty in second place. Not a position he expected to be sitting in this Grand Prix, but he's of course got the medium tyres on. Really out of necessity really. That's a tyre that KTM kind of have to run in these cool conditions. They can't really run the soft, they just can't get the performance out of it. But Binder running comfortably in second place, Bastianini just on his tail, and the top four, the only riders able really to run this 154 pace. The likes of Zarco and Morbidelli further back in the 54s, but they're way out of contention at the moment.
Yeah, I suppose the big question in terms of victory hopes here, can the likes of Rings, Martin, Quattro and Bagnaia bridge what at the moment looks like a pretty big gap? Are they just trying to manage their pace and have some good tyre life towards the back end of the race? Alex Rins is detached by about a second behind his teammate Joan Mir. He in turn then got about 4 tenths back to Martin. Start of lap number 10 then, and we're starting to get some real hot laps coming in now. The pace is hotting up. Paul Espargaro set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Right behind him, Binder bettered that, and then a late Espargaro, who's always been confident in his race pace on the factory of Aprilia. The pace then drops to a 1:54.465. Here's the fastest man on the circuit. Yellow flag in sector 1. So who will be lost in the first sector, or should we just run wide going into that first corner?
Let's go down to Simon Crayford briefly with some news on Jack Miller. Simon.
Yeah, guys, I can't get the official reason for Jack stopping, but I believe I heard him say a cuss word and the word electronics.
That's really cruel for Jack Miller. No wonder there's a cuss word. Alex Marquez, well, Honda have found some front-end confidence for their riders this year. They've certainly made it a more rider-friendly, a bit more margin for error on that RC213V, but sadly that's Alex Marquez's third crash of the weekend. His opening Grand Prix of 2022 comes through a premature ending as well, when he was fighting just outside of the top 10 with Miguel Oliveira.
Cast your minds back to pre-season testing when we were running Sepanta this year. We thought, and with good reason, that KTM were in a world of trouble. They seemed in all sorts of problems back in pre-season testing, which just underlines what an incredible performance Brad Binder is putting in here to run in second place. He's losing a little bit of ground on this lap to Paul Espargaro, who's been pretty comfortable. He's put a bit of time back in this third sector now of the lap. But KTM seemed in a world of trouble back in pre-season testing. They made a step forward at the Mandalika test, but we never thought that we'd see Brad Binder not just running second, but keeping Paul Espargaro in lead, well and truly within range.
Paul Espargaro right now looks everything the rider that he wasn't last year. It all looks quite easy, it's all smooth, it's all clean. Last year it was like a bucking bronco. I mean, how many times did that motorcycle send him into orbit, send him over the moon? They're all now trying to get the switches on. They switch the mappings to try and maybe preserve a bit more tyre life as we get into the second half of this Grand Prix. Marquez has just fired in his personal best lap of the race, a 1:54.643. That put him about a 10th clear of the 3 ahead of him. Paul Espargaro, Binder and Enea Bastianini, they all exchanged 54.7s. The yellow flag's out again in sector 1.
We'll keep an eye on that. Miguel Oliveira looks like he's dropping down the time screens. Yeah, I think it's the KTM, unfortunately, who's gone down. So a bit of a mixed night then for KTM. Here is Miguel Oliveira. Looks like that's on the outside of turn 1.
Well, he was so up and down last year, Miguel Oliveira. He said coming into this 2022 season he had to have a lot less spikes, be more consistent, flat line on his performance. He's down at turn 1, unfortunately. This just continues his horrendous run. He scored just 9 points in the last 9 races of last year with 4 DNFs, and unfortunately he's kicked off the new year in the gravel trap as well. Far from the ideal start for Oliveira, kicking him while he's down, of course. His teammate Binder locked in the fight for the victory, still hunting down Paul Espargaro.
Yeah, the Suzukis are starting to go into this. Joan Mir has now joined this leading group in the 154s. He's just about matching this leading group, being headed by Paul Espargaro. We're on board now with Marc Marquez, trailing Enea Bastianini. Marc Marquez, as Matt said a moment ago, setting his personal best lap of the race last time around. It's difficult to know at this stage whether Marc Marquez is just sitting pretty in 4th place. He seemed to want to talk his chances down over the course of the weekend of challenging for the win and for the podium. It's pretty clear at this stage, half distance in this MotoGP race, that Marc Marquez is well and truly in the podium battle. But is he just holding fire alone and keeping his powder dry in 4th place, or does he have more to offer?
And what's pretty clear is the improvements that we knew had come from HRC. The powerhouse like Honda were never going to take the last couple of years lying down, were they? There's Nadia Padovini, of course, the boss of the Gresini team, the widow of the late former 125cc world champion Fausto Gresini, fantastically carrying on Fausto's legacy here, forming the MotoGP team. That's Pecco Bagnaia. And who's he taken out?
Jorge Martin.
Oh, dearie me, friendly fire. Two top factory Ducatis out of the opening Grand Prix of the season. We're going to have to look at that one on the replay. They can't believe it. What a disastrous night for the Ducati Lenovo team. Jack Miller already out and bitterly frustrated and angry. And now Pecco Bagnaia, he runs over to console Jorge Martin. That looks like then Bagnaia was the guilty man. He apologises to Jorge Martin. Jorge Martin looks like he takes it on the chin, but what a disaster. Up the inside then comes Bagnaia. He's at the inside line. Front end just tucks right from underneath him. Trail break into the first corner on the outside. Poor old Martin hung out to dry, nowhere to go. He gets clattered. The poleman Martinator out and Pecco Bagnaia out as well. What drama in the opening Grand Prix.
And what a disastrous opening night for Ducati. Nothing Jorge Martin could do. He was just being overtaken into turn one and found himself being scooped up into the gravel trap. Paul Espargaro, look, he's already looking if he's making a bit of a gap out of the front. He's a quarter of a second, or 3/4 of a second, should I say, clear out the front. And Bastianini, who's Ducati's sole hope now at the front of this Grand Prix, looking as if he wants to make it big immediately to get into second place. You can see that factory Honda of Espargaro going off into the distance.
The highs and lows, the ups and downs of Grand Prix motorcycle racing. Ducati last year finished 2021 jubilant, joyous. They took their first ever podium lockout in Valencia in their Grand Prix history since they arrived back in 2003. It's been a start to 2022 they'll want to forget very, very quickly. No Miller in action, no Bagnaia in action. Jorge Martin, the poleman, wiped out by Pecco Bagnaia. You don't see Pecco Bagnaia make those kind of mistakes. He's going to be gutted. He'll be devastated, not for his own prospects, but the fact that he also wiped out Jorge Martin. Red faces on the red bike so far this weekend. Now, they're just still moving some of the debris, aren't they? That's why the yellow flags have still been out in Sector 1. Back at the front, Paul Espargaro. This will be a popular win if he hangs on here with 10 laps to go in Qatar. He was really put through the mill last year, battered and bruised so many times. That Honda last year, the really unruly Honda, really did spit him and chew him up last season.